You're finally moving out, you've got roommates, but how do you split the bills?
Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Philip.
And we teach you what you need to know about being a grown-up.
Because adulting shouldn't suck. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click on that bell so you can get the notifications when we put out some new videos. And the comments below, let us know how many roommates you're going to have.
In this video, we're going to talk about some of the best ways you can pay your bills with roommates. We both had roommates when we moved out for the first time. And with things getting more and more expensive, what feels like every day, having to move out with roommates in order to be able to afford your bills is pretty much a necessity.
When you have roommates, there's a lot to figure out. How much rent each person will pay, what bills each roommate's going to pay, and who's responsible for the chores, and so on. When you have roommates, there's a lot of different ways to pay the bills, and the best way is going to depend on you, your landlord, and your roommates, and the situation you guys are in.
The first thing you want to do is figure out how you're going to split the rent. One of the most common ways to split the rent is based on room size. So for this example, the person with the biggest room is going to pay the largest portion of rent, while the person with the smallest room would pay the least amount of rent.
Another common way to split the rent is based on amenities. Let's say that the master suite is the same size as the other rooms, but it has its own bathroom or a walk-in closet. So in this example, the roommate with the extra amenities would pay the larger portion of rent.
Which makes sense. You can also split the rent based on income. This is where the person that makes the most amount of money each month pays the larger portion of rent. Talking about monthly income can be a sensitive topic even for the closest of friends. But if one of the roommates is making a lot more money each month than the others, maybe they're willing to take on a larger portion of the rent. This method isn't as common amongst friend groups or roommates, but it's a little more common in relationships. I know if I moved out with some buddies who didn't make as much money as I did, I'm not going to pay more just to pick up the slack. I'd get different roommates.
Yeah.
You know, people who could actually afford to pay their fair share of the bills.
Yeah.
But if I moved out with a girlfriend, you know, that might be a different story.
The last method of splitting rent is by just splitting it evenly across the group. This is going to be the easiest and most common way that roommates split rent because it keeps everybody on an equal playing field.
That's how I always did it with my roommates. It kept everybody equal. And after you figure out how to split the rent, you need to figure out if your landlord allows separate payments from each person or if they want them all in one lump sum at the exact same time every month.
If your landlord allows separate payments for rent, that's awesome. This can be a great roommate if all your roommates have crazy schedules and they're not in the house together very often. However, separate payments can be hard to track for both the roommates and the landlords.
Sometimes the different places that you rent from are going to have an online portal where each tenant can pay individually. And there's other times that the landlords are going to accept things like Apple Pay or Venmo, Zelle, Samsung Pay, or whatever other digital form of payment. But I wouldn't bank on that being a guarantee. Most landlords haven't caught up to that yet.
If the landlord does accept separate payments, but not from an online platform, they could accept individual checks or money orders, cashier's checks from each individual. I mean, do people even know what checks are or money orders?
Old people.
I don't think I've written a check in like over 5 years.
Yeah, me neither. If the landlord doesn't accept individual payments, then the group of roommates can go create a joint bank account with everybody's name on it, on the account. And then each roommate can deposit their monthly portion of the bills into that account and then have the bills automatically deducted from that account each month.
I mean, this can be a great option for roommates who are long-term or couples, but this isn't the best option because it can complicate things. I mean, if a roommate moves out early or they're not trustworthy, everybody on the account is going to have access to the deposits and the withdrawals from that account. The last thing that you need is somebody to take all of the money for rent and bounce. You think I'm kidding, but it actually happens, especially in relationships where people live together and things go south. You might have a fight that morning, go to work, and come home to an empty apartment and an empty bank account.
It's a real thing. Lastly, you can just elect a responsible roommate who is responsible for collecting all the rent and money for bills, and then they're the one who takes all that money, pays the landlord from their own personal checking account, and honestly, that's the most common method that people use, right?
Yeah.
Most places don't allow you to split up payments. It's just harder to track for them and you.
All of these methods carry some risk. But when you have roommates, this is something that you're going to have to figure out. For me, we were both able to take our checks to the landlord and pay him at the same time, and they were cool with that. But this isn't always going to be the case.
That's how I did it too, back when I had roommates. Until you're able to afford your own place, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to be able to split it up or work out some kind of agreement. So, how you decide to pay the bills and split the rent is totally dependent upon you and your situation.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. In the comments below, let us know how you plan on splitting the rent with your roommates.
And we'll see you in the next video.